I don't know what to say. We can't catch a break sometimes. That game was genuinely ridiculous, and I'm worried. It's an interesting title race we got going on now. Basically, if you didn't watch the game, we missed a billion chances. Lamine got hurt, but then he got okay, but then he didn't play wonderfully. It wasn't a ton of energy. Eric Garcia started. Koundé had some of the best chances, but he missed all of them. So did Lewandowski. Dani Olmo didn't play well. They made 800 passes today with an 88% passing accuracy, I think, or 81% of possession too. They had the ball for so long, created a ton of chances in the beginning. And then after like the 70th minute, could not link together anything unless it was going to Koundé in the box. Okay, you know, and that's not the best opportunity. It's not necessarily the guy you want there, but they were chances. And nothing came from it, and we lost, as you all know, and it didn't go very well. It's very upsetting. Now in La Liga, we are joint with Atleti, and we're going to play them on Saturday at 3 p.m. Eastern time. It's going to be a tough little battle, but if we win, we will go top of La Liga no matter what happens with Real. So also, it's not the end of the world. It's crazy we lost to Leganés, and it's also crazy we lost to Las Palmas. It's tough. It sucks. We dropped points to Real Betis, but we're still very much so in this title race. It's not gone in any way. Just because it's going to be difficult doesn't mean it's gone. We're playing less matches than Real Madrid because they're in the Intercontinental Cup. And Atleti aren't perfect either. They scraped a win away against Getafe today that very easily they could have dropped points in. But back to Barca, there's a lot to talk about. We'll get through it as we go through our player ratings, though. And starting off, I think Iñaki Peña was really good. You know, I think he did his job the entire game, came out of the box a bunch of times, and was decent in possession. There was one time in the beginning he threw the ball away or kicked it away in not the best fashion, but it was fine. And he did concede against that header, but I don't think it's his fault. I think the defending on that corner completely falls apart, and it allows one of the Leganés players to get a perfectly free header right on the penalty spot, and you can't be doing that against teams like this. Maybe it's because Cubarsí wasn't in there. Maybe Eric Garcia lost his man. I'm not exactly sure, but I'm not putting that on Iñaki Peña. He made one great save leading to that corner, and I think he had a really good game. I'm going to give him an 8. Disagree with me if you want. I don't care. And then I'm going to go over to the other side. I'm going to start with Balde, because I think Balde had it was a tale of two halves a little bit for him. He was creative in the first half, put in a couple really good crosses, and potentially could have had a couple assists if these guys could finish any chances. Lewandowski missed like 2 or 3 sitters. Like, I mean, tap-ins or really good opportunities in the first 60 minutes. It was actually ridiculous. And then he missed another 2 chances. But he's Robert Lewandowski. He's the 3rd highest scorer in the Champions League in history, and he's been on fire this season. He was definitely not tonight. I think Balde was a little bit worse in the second half. Because he was worse in the second half, I'm going to give him like a 7, but he was good enough in the first half. He probably deserved an assist or 2, but again, they couldn't finish anything or weren't filling in the positions well, and that's what happens. And then comes Eric Garcia and Inigo Martinez, who I think were both pretty solid. Genuinely, I think Eric Garcia was very good today, made some really good passes. And we knew he was good on the ball historically, right? But we haven't seen him a ton or perform very well for Barcelona. He's been lacking confidence. Today, he looked fine. Very much so fine. I'm not upset with him. And he looked okay. Like, I'm okay to have him as a depth player. He looked fine against Leganés. And, it is what it is. And Inigo Martinez, though, especially in the first half, was shaky, man. There were a few of his clearances that didn't look clear in any way. Like, there was some maybe coordination issue or something. He's probably fatigued and having some trouble today, but it wasn't his game, though. He did not play the best. They did kind of figure it out and do better. So I'm going to give Eric Garcia a 7, because especially for someone who was out on injury, didn't get a ton of minutes. I'm pretty impressed with him today. I think he deserves it. Inigo, because of his struggles in the first half, I'm going to give him like a 6.5. I think that's more fair. And then Koundé, oh my God, Koundé, there was clearly some discussions with him tactically about him moving in different places or filling a little bit more of the pitch up, because he was like on the back line for Leganés a lot. So he was giving Lamine options, and we'll get into the whole Lamine problem later, but he was getting into good positions. He had one great opportunity to score at the end, and there was a couple more like that. I think he didn't do it. He didn't convert when we needed him to. I think he was okay. He was filling in good positions, but it could have been a lot better. And then he got megged right at the end of the match too. That could have led to another goal for Leganés, but thankfully they kind of fell apart when they got into the box. But it looked a little dangerous. So I'll give him a 6.5. I'll give him a 6 because he missed that chance, and I think he was okay. I don't think he was great, though. He was pretty bad. And then Pedri and Casero, they had to touch the ball a billion times. Like, I'm exaggerating, but I'm also not exaggerating. That's how often they had the ball. It was like Pedri was the only man on the ball for half of the game. It was ridiculous. I don't think he was bad. I think he was creatively and consistently the better player on our team, but nothing came from it. Obviously, we didn't score. He won the ball back in a couple really dangerous positions and did help the team, I think, more than Casado. So I'll give Pedri a 7. Casado, I'll give him a 6 at best, maybe. It was just they could not move that ball forward or connect with everybody. It's not necessarily on them, but there was no flow there. There was no really line-breaking pass from the two of them. It was coming more from like Eric Garcia and then Cubarsí when he came on, or Inigo. Maybe someone with a bigger tactical brain than me could understand that, but it really just wasn't coming together at all for these guys. And once everybody sat back at the end of the match, they were just trying to rotate it around and hold possession and figure something out from there. Yeah, and then we can move up the pitch a little bit. Dani Olmo did not have it today. He almost did, redeemed himself, putting a ball in a really good spot for Lewandowski in like around the 55th, 60th minute. That Lewa didn't get on too quick enough or something like that, but Dani really fluffed it in the first half, man. There were a couple chances or really good opportunities for him and or chances to put in a final ball to Lewandowski or chip it into somebody. It didn't come together. This was not his game, and he wasn't good today. I'm going to give him a 4. I think he was bad. And I think Lewandowski was just as bad. I'm going to give Lewa a 4. I think he was a little bit better than Dani, but not by much. He got into a couple good positions, a couple good touches of the ball to get into shooting positions, and then just did not get it off. I think Leganés were good at getting a man in front of him, making a block. Dmitrievski, I think is his name, had a hell of a game in goal for them, but realistically, he's got to score one of these chances. There was he literally had a tap in from like 2 yards away. God, man, you got to expect more from him. He easily could have scored 3 or 4. And they were 3 or 4 good chances, not like screamers by any means. He should have scored, and we should have won this game. That's the main sentiment to take away. And with all of these guys, I think Rafinha was the best player up there with Pedri. I'll give him, a 7.5. I think Rafinha was good, again, getting into decent positions a lot. I think Lamine was okay, especially in the first half, but again, he got an ankle injury. It was very concerning for a little while. He called for a sub and then he stayed on, but he was slower. He wasn't taking people on like crazy. There were a couple moments, but not what you expect from him. He wasn't as much of he wasn't that useful for us, or as useful as he normally is, which is very useful normally. I'm not seeing anything yet on Lamine's injury. I think he's okay. I don't think they would have let him play if there was any risk of him actually being hurt. It did look a little sketchy, but I think after the point where he did roll his ankle or whatever, it looked bad. I think he was slower. I genuinely think he was not as effective today. His stats show it. He really didn't do much, and it was difficult for this side, especially everyone around. And I think some of the subs that were made were good. It makes it more difficult when Hansi's not actually on the pitch, but I think this team should have done a lot better even with those starters, and they shouldn't have needed to struggle so much throughout this match because they created so many chances. They should have scored them. It was actually wild. It's not like Madrid not creating anything or sitting around the box forever. They created a ton of really good chances for the first 70 minutes of this game. They should have been winning. So with the subs, Fermin came on for Dani Olmo in the 66th. He chipped his tooth. He looked okay, won the ball back a couple of times. Won a couple of corners, and I think he looked very fine, nothing crazy. It was really difficult because they had literally 11 men behind the ball, sat back. It's hard to create like that, and it's hard to create like that, especially when maybe Lamine's not cooking or no one's really necessarily playing their best. So I'll give him a 6.5 because I think he was fine. Ferran Torres, yeah, again, I think he got fouled a lot. The ref is a conversation we could have. He wasn't calling anything for either team, but there were a couple instances just outside the box where a striker goes to, hold up the ball, pass it on to somebody else, but they can't. They're booted in, they're really clattered into, or, kicked on their way to turn around after linking up with somebody else. That happened to Ferran a lot. It never got called. It's unfortunate. There were a couple pen shouts. They were like mid-pen shouts to be at the very least, but whatever. Ferran 6, maybe. Cubarsí, I think he had a pretty good game. I think Cubarsí looked good. I'll give him a 6.5. Gavi, I don't think he looked good. I just don't remember an instance where I was incredibly impressed or impressed in any way. I think it was difficult for most of the midfielders today. I just don't think he looked great. Pau Vitor, a similar story. Again, not much from these guys. They could not create anything in those latter moments. The ball movement was slow. The runs in were coming less. Every deflection went to the Leganés player or just landed in the lap of Dimitrovic. It was genuinely that difficult. And his name is Dimitrovic. Sorry, I was saying that wrong. This team, man, it was flat today. We can't be like this against Atleti because if they go a goal up, they know how to hold a lead just as well as Leganés does. So it's going to be difficult. I think we can win. I think the league is still very calm down a little bit. This was a bad game, but the league isn't gone. You know what I mean? We could continue struggling because Atleti barely won today against Getafe. Madrid dropped points this weekend. So like this is going to be a battle for La Liga. No one is primed. No one is playing wonderfully, which is good for us because we're definitely not playing wonderfully. But stay tuned on the main channel. Video coming out tomorrow at 11 a.m. About Ansu Fati. It'll be linked here if it's live already. But thank you guys for watching. I appreciate you. Get some sleep. We're going to be okay. We're still second in the Champions League. We're still first technically in La Liga. So, you know, we'll take what we can get. Today we needed better and we didn't get it. We got to move forward. That's it. Thanks for watching, boys. Peace.